Hey guys, welcome to Cosi Talks Live. I was trying a couple of new things here, as you can see. And now I just got to figure out how to go back to my big screen. Hey guys, thank you for being so patient with me. Here we go. All right, there we go, back on my screen. Okay, guys, thank you so much for being patient. As you can see, I've been trying a couple of new things with my software here and trying to stream to a couple of different places and try to get the reach out a little bit better. But I have a lot of people to say hello to this evening. Looks like I've got Martin on board from Colorado. Martin, thank you again for your advice. I know we tried a couple things here and we're going to keep trying. We got Scott coming in from cold West Virginia, but it's going to get worse for him next week. Sprite Zero in your cup. Cheers to you, my friend. Stephen with his hot chocolate, 4 degrees in Michigan. Oh my gosh, now I feel like a real wimp because I have my my heater here, my space heater right here next to my feet because I'm freezing. We got Van Gregory, howdy from Texas there, Van Gregory. Janie coming in from Canada. Kathy, good to see you. I'm getting your book off in the mail. We've got from Indiana. We've got Mark S. coming in from cold Fort Lauderdale. We got Compadre coming in from Miami Beach. Say hello to those beautiful girls. Chuck coming in. Excited for tonight's show. We've got Eric from Tennessee having Pepsi. We got Tom from Canada, and I know he's got to be cold too. Martin says, I think it worked. I hope it worked, Martin. Let's just see what happens with the rest of the show. But thank you again for your advice. We've got Nicholas coming in from Michigan, Kristen with Diet Pepsi in Michigan, and Earl from California. Earl, I hope you are doing okay. And I hope, man, I hope you, if there's any family you have in California, I hope they're doing all right as well. So I'm glad you're here with us this evening. Okay, good. Thank you, Martin. I really appreciate it. So my buddy Martin here has been helping me try to figure out, because apparently my show, and I've known this for a while now, lots of people, when they try to find the Cosi Talk show live on Wednesday nights, they sometimes have trouble doing so because like either Facebook won't show it to them or YouTube or I don't know what. So I've tried several things over the years, and I appreciate when someone like Martin, who has experience with this, can give me some advice on how to make this show kind of get out there a little bit better. We got Sherry coming in from Orlando having hot coffee. I've got my hot decaf, so we're going to start this night off right. Cheers to all of you. Hopefully you're staying warm in this crazy weather that we're having. Mark says he's got his space heater as well. All right, guys, I sent out a text a little bit earlier today. Again, I'm kind of playing around with a few things just to see how I can make sure that the show gets out to the people who need it. And y'all did not disappoint. I sent out the text asking for questions, and I got a lot of text messages that literally I was answering up until I went live with the show. So we're going to just jump right in. The headliner question was from Corey. Corey asks, what are exercises my fellow below the knee amputees are doing to strengthen their amputated limb, and especially for those who can't use a prosthesis yet? So we're going to back it up. Hey there, Sean. What's going on, man? We got Kim in below zero in Indiana. Girl, you're going to need that hot cocoa. So let's just back it up again. Oh, wait, I didn't do my intro. I need to do my intro because there's some people here who are probably here for the first time. My apologies, guys. So let's try this again. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, welcome. My name is Cosi Belloso. I'm a physical therapist here in very cold Florida. And I've been a PT now for 23 years. And my passion is working with the limb loss community. So if this is your first time on the show, welcome. Don't be shy. Let me know who you are, where you're from, and more importantly, what is in your mug this evening. And then feel free to put your questions about amputation in the comments section. So getting back to Corey's question about what exercises can be done specifically before you receive your prosthesis. So as I was saying, once upon a time, when dinosaurs roamed the earth and I was applying to physical therapy school, it's a while back, people actually received physical therapy before their surgeries and before receiving their prosthetic devices. Then Medicare came along in 1997 and scrambled things around, and a lot of that went out the window, unfortunately. So unfortunately, now we don't very often, in fact, we very rarely will see people getting therapy prior to surgeries, and not quite as rare, but not as common as it should be. We don't have a lot of folks who get therapy before they receive their prosthesis, and they really should. You know, the physical therapist needs to be a part of the recovery process from post-op day one, and sometimes in some cases prior to the amputation, if the person is aware that they're going to have an amputation done. So anyways, there's a lot of different exercises that can be done without the prosthesis. Obviously, the main focus is on the residual limb and getting it moving again, specifically in a below the knee amputee. The muscle groups that are of focus are the quads, the hamstrings, and the glutes. Okay, so when it comes to strengthening, those are kind of the three big muscle groups that are left in the residual limb. Notice I didn't really talk a lot about the calf muscles. Okay, so below the knee amputees will have some form of calf muscle left. Okay, but even in my longer amputees, even in my longer below the knee amputees, those calf muscles are just not going to work the same. Okay, the focus is definitely on quads, hamstrings, and glutes. And then as you're doing exercises to strengthen quads, hamstrings, and glutes, those calf muscles and whatever's left of the muscles in the anterior part, on the front part of your below the knee residual limb, they'll get pulled into the process as well. Okay, so one of the big ones that I'm really focusing on in the beginning especially is learning how to activate these three muscle groups. And I'm really getting this with this one particular patient that I have. And I actually posted a video of him on my Instagram page and on my Facebook page on how we start activating the hamstrings. So guys, if you have not seen my Facebook page or Instagram page in the past week, go back because I posted it. So I have a lovely young man. His name is Raphael. He's he's allowed me to post his videos. He's a bilateral below the knee amputee and a professional ballroom dancer. So we're having a lot of fun, and you can see that on the page. But one of the things that we notice is that even though he's in very good shape and he's doing remarkably well with his walking, he's not activating his hamstrings. And this is something that I find a lot in my below the knee amputees. Okay. And the reason for this is because many people don't take the time to reactivate them right after surgery. So what do I mean by that? So when you have surgery or you have trauma, you know, you've got a lot of inflammation at the muscle, and the muscle is just like, kind of freaking out and not really knowing what to do. Okay. So part of what you do with therapy, especially right after surgery, is you kind of have to wake that muscle up again. You have to wake up your brain, right, to then wake up that muscle. And it's really not an intense exercise that needs to be done. Right? A lot of folks, especially my young strong bucks, they like to hit the gym and they're doing all these crazy intense exercises, and they're not necessarily waking up the right muscle groups, right? So we have to kind of backpedal a little bit. So the easiest way, and this is an exercise that basically everybody can do, and there's not too many of that. It's called the hamstring sets, quad sets, and glute sets. Okay. Now, those of you who have my exercise program and my exercise book, it's in here. It's the first phase 1 exercises under the legs section, okay, for my below the knee amputee and my above the knee amputee. Glute sets, quad sets, and hamstring sets, okay? And yes, this actually still does apply to my above the knee amputees as well. So even though you don't have full quads and full hamstrings as an above the knee amputee, you can still kind of activate them and get things going, okay? So I'll briefly describe what a quad set, hamstring set, and glute set is. It's basically an isometric contraction. What's an isometric contraction? Basically when you squeeze and contract the muscle, but there's no movement. So for example, and guys, don't be too impressed by the gun show here. If I wanted to do a biceps isometric contraction, I'm basically just doing that. So you can see kind of that I'm contracting my biceps muscle, but there's no movement occurring. Like there's no movement. It's not bending my elbow, which is what the biceps does, right? And it also flexes your shoulder. So an isometric contraction, it's basically just a contraction that wakes up that muscle and holds the muscle. It's just getting it to contract, okay? The reason why I really like this is because, again, It really keeps things simple for your brain and for that injured muscle. It wakes the muscle up. And the longer you hold that isometric contraction, the more your brain will recruit muscle fibers, okay, to participate in that contraction. If there's any takeaway from tonight's talk that you remember, it's that part, okay? Rehabilitating a muscle, getting your muscles strong, it's not just about making the muscle fiber big and beefy. It's about getting your brain to recruit more muscle fibers in a given contraction. Does that make sense, guys? Give me a shout out in the comment section. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, those of you who have been on my show for a while now, you've heard me talk about the proper concepts of what muscle strengthening is. Okay. And again, a lot of people, and this includes trainers, people in the healthcare industry, they forget that to strengthen a muscle, it's making the muscle fiber bigger, but also recruiting more muscle fibers during a contraction. And it all starts by doing isometrics with these quad sets, hamstring sets, and glute sets. Okay. Super easy. Every amputee should be doing these exercises, okay? Even my folks who are my high-level amputees, functioning amputees, I'll bet you that if I had you doing 10 repetitions of these quad sets, glute sets, and hamstring sets, you would be hurting, right? It's a great way to start recruiting more muscle fibers, okay? So guys, if you want to see the video on the hamstring sets, go to my Facebook page or my Instagram page, and you'll see me showing Raphael how to do the hamstring sets on a below the knee amputee, okay? The glute sets, super easy. You know how you do them? You just squeeze your bum together. That's it. That's how you do a glute set. So you squeeze your bum together. And I know some of you guys are like doing that right now as I say it, haha. So you squeeze your bum together, you hold it for a count of 5, and then you slowly relax the contraction. Okay. And then with the quads, you also do the same. You activate the quads. And again, if you have my book, okay, it's in phase 1 of the leg section. All right. Ben Gregory, I think you should be doing especially the hamstrings. My below the knee amputees who have a goal to run or who like to run or be active, you really need to get those hamstrings going. And I've had several of my runners who come in that they're walking independently already, and I still take them back to doing hamstring sets, okay, to really get them to recruit those hamstrings. Maria says, just saw this post that you were here live, new bilateral below the knee, received my second leg, but how do I strengthen my hips? They are the pits and everything exercise isn't modified. Okay, so guys, this is not just a shameless plug. I developed an entire exercise program, and I'm typing it in as I'm trying to talk, which I'm never very good at. And I have a QR code. Give me a second, guys, because that makes it, I know, easier for you guys. Here we go. Okay. Whew, that was a lot bigger than I thought it would be. Okay, so guys, on this QR code, you can scan it and go to my program. It's 150 exercise videos for above the knee and below the knee amputee. It includes arms, legs, and core strengthening exercises, balance exercises, and flexibility exercises. And there's 2 books that go with the program, an above the knee book and a below the knee book that you can purchase from the website. Okay. And it takes you from the very, 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 very beginning all the way through folks who are my runners. So for example, this handsome man here and this beautiful woman right here, these are 2 folks that I trained how to run using the exercises from this book. Okay. So check it out. It is adapted, and it's amputee models doing these exercises. Okay. So again, specifically though, if you don't have the book right away, you can go to my Facebook page and Instagram page, and you can see how to do hamstring sets. Okay. And that will get you started on how to activate those hamstrings. So if there's one exercise I had to pick for you, it would be that one. Go do that one. Okay. So going back to Corey's original question, you know, in terms of what you should be doing for strengthening before you receive your prosthesis, obviously, there's quite a bit. There's a whole book worth of exercises that you can be doing to strengthen your residual limb. But, and this is something I always tell my folks, don't ignore your other side. Okay. If you're a bilateral, then obviously, you're going to be training both residual limbs. But if you have an anatomical limb, if you're a unilateral amputee, your anatomical limb also needs to be strengthened. Okay. Why? Because it's a part of your body, right? And you should be doing head to toe strengthening. But more importantly, because of the fact that your anatomical leg is now going to be taking more abuse, right? Because you're probably walking on it, using a walker, using crutches. You're going to be favoring that leg for quite some time until you are adequately trained with your prosthetic device by your physical therapist. See what I did there? See what I did there? Okay. So in the meantime, that leg needs to be strengthened, because what we don't want is we don't want to have chronic overuse injuries. Okay. So you've got to work on strengthening the residual limb to prep it for prosthetic use, but you also have to strengthen, okay, your anatomical side to prevent injuries from setting in. Thumbs up. All right. Let's see what we got over here. All right. Hey, we got Pam coming in from upstate New York. Sean's got his ginger ale on the rocks. I love it. I need a sip of my coffee. Yes, Ottobock does have a free app for amputees, beginner, intermediate, and advanced exercises. All due respect. I just happen to like how my program is organized better. But, I made it, so of course I'm going to be saying that. Let's see. Emily, I hope nobody else's screen is freezing. Hey there, Susan. Marshall. She says, Marshall and I are freezing here in Pennsylvania. I believe you, because I'm freezing here in Florida. The iguanas are falling out of the trees. So it's cold in Florida when iguanas are falling out of the trees. No joke. It's a real thing. Look it up. Hey there, Bill. Good to see you. Glad you could make it. We've got Mike coming in from Texas. I got a lot of Texans on board today, man. Don't mess with Texas. We got Michelle coming in from Michigan. A lot of my Michiganders as well. And we got Dave coming in from Rehoboth Beach. Don't forget the core muscles. Thank you very much, Sean, for reminding me as well. Yes. So when it comes to getting yourself ready for a prosthesis, head to toe. And I really do mean that. That includes the core, the upper body as well. So yes, there is plenty that you can do to keep yourself busy while you are waiting for that prosthetic device. Let's see. Nicholas says, I wish I'd seen them sooner, and physical therapy makes a huge difference in the journey. Yes, I agree. Thank you. Eric says, the program works. The books are very helpful. Thank you very much, Eric. I appreciate that. Let's see. Maria, being new here, I just want to let you know this show is to answer your questions. So please, please, please keep putting questions in. In terms of strengthening your hips, the main muscle group you're going to want to focus on is your glutes, but also your pelvic floor and your core. Okay. So as a bilateral amputee, whether you're bilateral below the knee, bilateral up above the knee, or bilateral mixed, okay, obviously the muscles above the amputation are going to be taking a lot of more of the stress and the tension. Okay. And then with women, again, we have the added pressure of our pelvic floor. So I noticed that in my bilaterals, there tends to be more issues there. So I would encourage you to work with your physical therapist to strengthening the hips. That's something that can be very done easily, very effectively. And also looking at pelvic floor exercises. Those unfortunately are not in my book because I am not a pelvic floor specialist, but fortunately, they do exist out there. And I would recommend, like I said, glute strengthening for the hips and focusing on your core to really get things strong. Okay. We've got Glenn says, I just finally had something interesting in my glass, a Moscow Mule. That is very interesting. Do you have it in that cool, like copper shiny cup that they use for Moscow Mules? I always thought those were nice looking. All right, let's see what else we got. The chair exercises are a killer. Yeah, guys, don't underestimate the power of like isometric exercises and the stage 1 exercises. A lot of people, when they look at the exercises in my book, or even when I'm in the clinic, they're just looking at me like, really? This is all you got from me, Cosi? You don't have anything fancier? And then after they do 10 repetitions, they're like, okay, I get it now. I get it now. Yeah, this is kind of challenging. So yeah, guys, don't underestimate those beginner exercises. And again, you want to build a strong foundation, because if you don't, eventually it's going to bite you in the rear and you're going to have to go back and fill in that foundation. All right. Hey there, Pastor Dave. What's going on? We got Kathy on board. Let's see. I appreciate that, Dave. Thank you so much. Let's see. Bill asks, I am a bilateral below the knee. How can I do sit-ups? Okay. So I guess my question for you is, what is your goal? Is your goal to get a stronger core, or you just want to get a good looking pair of six pack, right? Before you do sit-ups, Bill, I would actually encourage you to start working more your transverse abdominis. Okay. And this is the part that people are like, what? Well, what's going on here? So the secret to getting a strong core and actually getting a nice looking six pack, or whatever you want to call it, is to start working the transverse abdominis. That is your corset muscle. It is the deepest abdominal muscle. So if you were to kind of peel away all the layers of the muscles, what you would be left is a transverse abdominis. And it's called that because it goes like that. It traverses your body, right? And it looks like a corset, right? So for my ladies who are looking to kind of slim down that area, and for my gentlemen as well, this is actually a really fantastic muscle to target. And then as a bonus, it is the deepest layer of your core. Okay, so you strengthen your transverse abdominis and you get all sorts of benefits. And it's not targeted by doing a sit-up. Okay, actually, do you guys want to see a video of how to do your transverse abdominis exercise? Show of hands. Anybody who wants to see the video of the transverse abdominis exercise? Let me go ahead and start looking for it while you guys put it in the comment section, because I hope you want to see it. I think it's a great exercise. All right, let's see. Yes. All right. Pastor Dave says yes. Good morning, Carl from Taiwan. We got Comadre on board with a tall glass of Florida water. Ooh, girl, you brave. Let's see. Maria asked a good question. Oh, okay. Oh, we're getting the yes, 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 yes. Okay, so let's go ahead and share the screen. There we go. Share the screen. Okay, so for those of you who have my program, okay, if you're in above the knee, you would go to core, phase 1. Same thing for below the knee, core and phase 1. So we're going to go to the above the knee 1, and these are the phase 1 exercises for core. Diaphragmatic breathing, say that fast 3 times, the cat-cow exercise, and this one right here, TVA for transverse abdominis setting. So we'll go ahead and play this one. And this can be done by my below the knee and my above the knee amputees. Go ahead. My Wi-Fi decides it wants to behave itself. Come on, Wi-Fi. You can do it. Oh, good gravy. There we go.
This exercise is meant to start working your transverse abdominis muscle. Now, this is a muscle that's often neglected when doing core training. It's the deepest abdominal muscle, and it runs horizontally across your body, and it acts like a corset. So to me, it's one of the most important muscles when you're trying to build a strong core. And I always like to start in the simple position of laying down. This way you can really focus on contracting that particular muscle. So here I have Robin wearing her prosthesis because, again, the more even your weight is distributed, the better you're going to be able to activate this muscle. If you're having trouble either keeping your prosthesis on because you're losing suction, or if you just feel more comfortable with it off, you can go ahead and put some pillows underneath and just have your limbs at the same angle, approximately same angle. So for this exercise, here's Robin's belly button. You're going to visualize pushing your belly button down and up towards your head. So you're going to use your muscles to push down and then up towards the head. Go ahead. And it's a very slight contraction. It's really not a huge movement that you're going to see. And then relax. If you're having trouble kind of activating this movement, you can have someone, I'm going to slip my fingers underneath your back. There. You can have someone put their fingers directly underneath your back and just kind of give you a little tickle. So I'm tickling the back of her back, and I'm going to have her push her belly button into my fingers to kind of squash my fingers. There you go. You can see the movement going down. And then relax the contraction. Okay? Push down with your belly button as if you're squashing the fingers. And right now I'm just giving her a little bit of a tickle in the back of her back. And then relax the contraction.
Okay. I'm hoping that came through with the sound. So you can just see kind of the basic gist of things. And again, if you notice that particular exercise for transverse abdominis, it would be considered an isometric contraction, right? So my model Robin is just contracting the muscle, right? Getting the brain to wake up and to start recruiting those muscle fibers. And you can tell that I have her lying down in a very easy position so that her brain can really just activate that transverse abdominis very easily. Okay. So this is actually also the foundation of any good back pain program. A lot of therapists will start their patients by learning how to activate these muscles as well. Okay. So when it comes to doing sit-ups, hopefully with the goal of strengthening your core, flattening out the tummy, getting that six-pack, whatever it is, it starts there. Okay. And this is going to be actually more effective than doing sit-ups. And this is coming from a former Army brat. So I'm used to having to do like 100 sit-ups a day or something, some crazy like that. This is actually more effective. And then as you get stronger and you're able to hold that contraction, okay, then you start incorporating different movements of your body while holding that contraction. And I do this a lot with my patients in the clinic as well. Maybe that should be the video I should do this week with some of my patients. All right, let's see. Rita, I am glad you are here, darling. Better late than never. I am glad you are here. Okay, good. Tom, thank you for letting me know that the video came through. So Maria asked, typically, how long does it take to strengthen core, hip flexors, etc., if you're diligently doing the exercises? So Maria, again, strengthening is a two-part thing, right? You're teaching the brain how to recruit more muscle fibers, and you can see improvement on that on a day-to-day. Okay. So it's kind of cool when I start an exercise with a patient and I have them do it really carefully and really properly. By the time they finish doing that exercise, they feel like they're stronger. And it's not because that they all of a sudden their muscle fibers got big. It's just that their brain started recruiting more fibers. So you might actually start to notice these changes, provided you're doing the exercises properly. You're going to see these little minor slight changes from day to day. The actual increase in muscle fiber, however, takes 6 weeks. And that's when you're looking under a microscope at the muscle fiber. It takes 6 weeks, okay, of overloading the muscle and training it to start to see a change. Okay. So I tell my patients strengthening really truly is a lifelong pursuit. Okay. If you are doing 2 to 3 times a week of strengthening a particular muscle group as an amputee, you're going to start to notice changes. You're going to start to notice something's a little different. Something's a little bit easier to move at the 2-week mark, at the 4-week mark, at the 6-week mark. Okay. And again, a lot of it will depend on where you're starting off, and what your goals are with your strength. If you are starting at square one and you haven't walked in several months, okay, and you're developing your strength so that you can walk with a prosthesis, that is going to take some time. It is going to take some time. The good news is as you're getting stronger, there are foundational gait exercises that you can also start to do with your physical therapist to get you moving again. Okay. So strengthening is, it's kind of a multifactorial thing. It's the dedicated strengthening exercises like the ones that you see on my program. It's also foundational gait exercises, strengthening that you're doing while you're practicing gait. Okay. So it's kind of cool. That's why I love what I do. Let's see. Pat asks, off topic tonight for a bit, but have you had any experience with the powered ankle foot prosthesis called the M-Power, developed by Dr. Herr from MIT? There is something there that is ringing a bell for me, Pat. I personally have not seen it or worked with it. The powered, and it's really not so much, it's a microprocessor. I mean, I've worked with the Echelon, which is the microprocessor foot ankle system by Blatchford, and I have a lot of people who are very happy with that particular system. In terms of powered ankle foot, I'm wondering if it actually does the movement for you. So no, I have not worked with that particular system, but I'm curious as to why you are asking. Is this something you're trialing out or something you're thinking about doing yourself? Let's see. Okay. Glenn's feeling his Moscow mule. It's going to be a party, let me tell you. Okay. Lindsay asks, on behalf of a husband who is a double above the knee amputee. and she calls him her hero. She says he can walk on his stubbies and still trying to master stops and turns, etc. He has the standard side kicks feet. Is there an alternative to these? Many thanks in advance. So stubbies are little platform feet. Okay. And they are typically like a little square or sometimes like a little rectangle, and they go directly on the bottom of the socket. And the purpose of stubbies is basically to allow people who are bilateral above the knee amputees to start training with sockets without having to go to full length prosthetic devices. Okay. So let me see if I got. Unfortunately, I do not have a stubby foot here for display. But basically the foot would go right here underneath the socket. So nothing in between, just the little stubby foot. And so the person can put on their socket, and this is a below the knee socket, but anyways, you get the idea. The people who are bilateral above the knees can put on the socket and the stubby foot, and then they can go and start practicing walking foundation exercises, right? This makes it easier then for them to transition to the full length prosthesis. Okay. Now the side kicks, which is the one that Lindsay is referring to, those are specifically made by College Park. And it's a company that you guys have seen on my show a lot. They've been a sponsor for all 7 years. And it has a nice tire tread on the bottom, and it's multi-axial. So the stubby foot itself moves up and down. And is, to my knowledge, it's the only stubby foot that does that on the market. There's not a whole lot of options for stubby feet, and side kicks by far is my favorite. And I know it's a favorite among a lot of the prosthetists that I work with. So in terms of having your husband master stopping and turning with the stubbies, it can be quite challenging. And it might mean that your husband might be ready now to start using a fuller length prosthesis. Okay. And again, he doesn't have to go straight to using a knee. He can actually use just a straight pylon and just put himself a little bit up off the ground. So the prosthetist can kind of do this and just kind of see like how he's doing before putting him in full length prosthesis. Okay. Because yeah, it is really hard to turn and move, do those finer movements when you're wearing just the sockets. It's really kind of a clunky scenario in that regard. So again, it might be, and again, talk to your physical therapist and just see, is he now ready now to maybe start looking at a longer prosthetic setup. Yes, Maria, the live is archived on my YouTube channel and my Facebook. So I would encourage you please to visit both. And if you like what you see, give me a follow. Thanks for joining us this evening. So we got Matthew on board with his iced coffee. Kim says, I get into the rehab pool and exercise. I started doing this when I got my first life. Yes, no, I love aquatherapy. So anybody who has access to a pool and also access to a YMCA that does water aerobics classes, I love this for my amputees, for my beginners, and for my experienced amputees. Let's see. Next question is, oh my gosh, I just realized I have not looked at all on my Instagram channel, and I have all these people that have joined in. So my bad to my Instagram folks that I have not been showing you any love tonight. Hi, please feel free to put a question into the comments section. We've got Angela on board. We've got my girl, Kristen. We've got Moody. We got a one-arm hugger. We've got Theo on board who joined in. Kurt joined in as well. So guys, greetings. All right. Next question. Emily says, aside from when someone is sick, when would you recommend a patient still come in for their PT session if they're feeling stiff versus staying home and resting? Sometimes a person may feel better after working out in PT. Sometimes they might just need that rest. How would you advise them if they're not sure if they want to come in or not? That's a great question. When it comes to prescribing exercises as a physical therapist, it's a sweet spot, right? You have to challenge your patient enough that the muscle is being loaded, right? Because we have to load the muscle a little bit more than what it can handle to challenge it so that it can start to get stronger, right? But, sometimes too much of a good thing is too much of a good thing. So if my patient calls me and they tell me, oh my gosh, Cosi, I am still sore from physical therapy. And usually with my guys, if I see my patients twice a week or 3 times a week, I try to space out the sessions specifically for that reason, to allow the muscles to rest. But if my patient has a session with me on Monday and Thursday, they wake up and they're still feeling pretty sore. I mean, that doesn't usually happen because I'm usually pretty good about prescribing. Then yeah, I'll tell the person, you know what, stay home. Just stay home. Let's not waste this visit, because if you're just still that sore, then you just need to kind of do gentle movements and let your body heal. And then we know we need to adjust the prescription of the strength of the exercise. Again, I'm pretty conscientious. Usually if my patients are sore after strengthening, it's only about 24 to 48 hours max. And it's not so bad that they can't come in and see me. If it's a mild soreness, then I'll tell the person, come on in. We may not work those muscle groups. We'll work different muscle groups, but movement in general does help. It helps move that inflammation out of those sore muscles. So yeah, if you stay still and don't do any movement, that's kind of the worst thing that you can be doing. So if you can just do gentle movement, even on those worst days, that will help resolve things. All right. Coffee. Okay. Martin asks, I've been wearing a shrinker since September of 2024. So pretty recently. I'm on my second stage. It's starting to irritate my skin because it's pretty tight. I get my first prosthetic leg next Wednesday. I was wondering, how long can I leave my shrinker sock off to get some relief, as long as I lay down and not go around the house? I would appreciate your advice. Okay, so when it comes to the shrinker, guys, it should not be painful. It really shouldn't. So the shrinker is usually issued about 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, depending on your surgeon's protocols after your surgery. So once your staples are removed and that wound is closed, right, then the surgeon will prescribe a shrinker and the prosthetist will give it to you. So the purpose of the shrinker is exactly that. It's to shrink your residual limb, right, and to start kind of helping it model into its new shape. And again, it's a Goldilocks scenario. Not enough, and you're not going to get not enough compression, and you're not going to get any results there, and your limb is going to stay puffy and inflamed. But too much, and that's just going to put you in pain, and nobody wants to be in pain, right? So it sounds like, Martin, that maybe that shrinker is just not the right size for you, and you have to go back and ask your prosthetist to perhaps order you a larger size. The other option is using an ACE wrap, which is, again, a much more older method. And I'm smiling because I just had a conversation with one of my colleagues the other day about limb wrapping using an ACE wrap. And it's something that, as therapists, unfortunately, we don't get to do that as much as we used to. But it is a very efficient way to get compression in the limb and to help with that limb shrinking. So if your prosthetist is not able to find you a shrinker that's better fit for you, then you should consider asking them to teach you how to do limb wrapping with an ACE wrap. It is a very particular protocol. It's not just wrapping it around the limb like a tourniquet, or like the sports wraps from, playing sports and things like that. It's a very particular figure 8 pattern. And it crisscrosses to make sure that you're getting a nice even compression throughout the limb. So Martin says, I do have the first shrinkers they gave me when I left the hospital. So if those are too big, and again, I'm just troubleshooting here, your prosthetist should be able to order you a size that's a little bit more loose, but that can still give you compression. If not, sometimes what the prosthetist can do is take the shrinker that's a little bit big and then put a seam in it to just custom make it, because they have those industrial size sewing machines in their clinics, and they can customize it to the size of your limb. So if they're having trouble finding you a shrinker that is better suited for your size, maybe they can go back to one of the older shrinkers that you had and adjust it that way. Okay. But yeah, it shouldn't be painful. As far as your wearing schedule, Martin, I tell folks, especially in those first 6 months to a year, at least, to wear the shrinker whenever you're not wearing your prosthesis, and only remove it when you are, in the shower, so that you don't get that rebound edema. Yes, Bill, that's exactly it. Yeah, Bill says, I wear my shrinkers when I'm not in my sticks. My sticks. I love that. Yes, that is good. And guys, I've done a lot of talks on, managing residual limb volume. I actually have some videos that my team is putting together that we will be releasing in partnership with Click Medical on this topic alone. And in it, I discuss on how your limb volume is fluctuating up to 2 years, 1.5 to 2 years after surgery. And it's like, yeah, it really sometimes just takes that long for all those tissues to remodel and kind of shrink down and get their new shape, right? And then even after those 2 years, some of you may be experiencing fluctuations in your limb volume. Okay. And it's a big frustration, big frustration. So yeah, I love shrinkers because they're a great tool for helping manage limb volume. And a lot of folks, they even feel more comfortable at night, even after they're 2 years, 3 years, 5 years out of their amputation, they still like to wear their shrinkers because it just feels more comfortable at night to have that compression, right? Emily says, can you wear a shrinker on top of another shrinker? Is that too much compression? I would say that's too much compression, just off the bat, off the cuff. I've actually never done that. In the 23 years, I've never had to do that with a patient. These shrinkers that they make nowadays, they pack a good punch with compression. So if your current shrinker is not providing enough compression, it probably means it's just stretched out and you just need to get a newer one. Gene, I haven't seen you in ages. Oh my goodness. Good to see your name. I haven't seen you in a long time around here. She says, speaking of shrinkers, I found a use for my old shrinker. I wear it when I'm kayaking or swimming to protect my stump from the sun. I love that idea, especially here in Florida. I think that's a fantastic idea. I always tell people as well, save your shrinkers, even if you don't wear them daily, if you're done with that phase and you don't find any benefit when you go traveling. Because when you go into a plane, residual limb likes to puff up, right? So I always tell people, just throw that under your suitcase because you never know if you might need to use it while you're on the plane or when you get off the plane. All right, let's keep going with these questions. Sean B from Jacksonville says, what kind of lotion should, if any, should I be putting on my limb overnight? I love Vital Fit products. You guys have heard me talk a lot about Vital Fit here. Vital Fit, I think if you Google it, you have to type in Vital Fit SR. Like that's how you'll find their website. And then my code still works. It's the Cosi 10 code. So guys, feel free to put that on. Boy, my streaming software is doing something funky, but never mind. Okay. Never mind. Okay, so Vital Fit, if you order their travel size kit, it gives you the cleanser, the daytime moisturizers, the nighttime moisturizer, and the liquid to powder lotion. When it comes to skin health, I'm like really picky. And those of you who are like, have been watching my show, you're like, oh, here she goes again with her skin hygiene soapbox. Yes. When it comes to the care of your skin, guys, if there's any breakdown on your skin, then it's game over. You can't wear your prosthesis. And I'm kind of a stickler about that. Okay. The skin on your residual limb needs to be taken care of as carefully as ladies take care of the skin on their face. It's under a lot more stress, a lot more duress wearing a prosthesis all day long. Okay. And it has to be taken care of. Some people are really lucky. They just use a bar of ivory soap and their skin is great and they never have any issues and they never have any breakouts or anything. And to them, I say, congratulations. But a lot of the people that I work with over the years, they do have to adjust to how their skin reacts to a prosthesis. So when it comes to moisturizers, again, some of the over-the-counter stuff that I used to use is things like cocoa butter. I like the use of cocoa butter. I'm starting to kind of get into more of the natural things that don't have as many chemicals in them. And I look for companies. Primally Pure is one of those companies that I personally like to use. They don't put any chemicals into their products and it kind of just soaks in nicely into the skin. But when it comes to things that you put on your skin while you're using your prosthesis, that's where I get really picky. Even with the good natural stuff, if you put it on your skin, It'll just make it really slippery. So when you put your prosthesis on, you can get into some trouble there. So again, Vital Fit, when it comes to moisturizers that you can use while you're wearing your prosthesis, I like to try the Vital Fit stuff. The nighttime stuff that they have is also really, really great as well. So I would encourage you, try the Vital Fit stuff and see how you like it. Again, try travel size packet. You can try a little bit of everything that they have there. Okay, let's see what else we got. Okay. So this one was a question that I was just like, oh, I really don't have a good answer for this question, but at least I have like kind of a recommendation and a referral. Beth asks, before my amputation, I had restless leg syndrome in my right leg. No more. It seems to have migrated to my left amputated leg. I don't know if it's restless leg syndrome or nerve damage. Regardless, any ideas on how to calm it down? I'm absolutely sleep deprived. And this just breaks my heart. And she says massage, heat, and ice help minimally. Okay, when it comes to Robert, what's going on, Robert? Man, it's good to see you. All right, when it comes to restless leg syndrome, sorry. For me, it's about what is causing it. And I say this a lot on the show, finding the root cause of what's causing it. Restless leg to me is just a symptom. It's a symptom of something else that's going on. Now, I am not an expert on restless leg syndrome. Okay, I know just enough to know that much, that it doesn't just happen on its own, right? There's something else that's causing it, and really taking the time to figure out, okay, what is causing it? Is it a nutritional deficiency? Is there some issue with the nervous system that is going on? Is it stress? What is it that's going on? And that's how you can really address it. I find that a lot of times my patients are not getting enough hydration, and specifically hydration with electrolytes, magnesium, potassium, and sodium. Okay. And again, guys, this is just general advice. If those of you, especially those of you who are on cardiac medication, blood pressure medication, you need to check this with your doctor to see if you can take these things. But looking at putting a good quality electrolyte, one that does not have a bunch of sugar dumped into it, because a lot of these electrolyte drinks that I have out right now it's a bunch of sugar and food dyes. So I would strongly recommend look for a good electrolyte. And a lot of times, a lot of these, even with phantom pain sometimes, just getting the proper nutrition and hydration. And again, this is kind of where the scope of my knowledge ends. And this is where I say, if you're having a lot of these issues, I would recommend a functional nutrition practitioner. This is something that I've kind of learned more and more about this field in the past few years. And I really, really admire their approach to solving issues. They like to really dig into the root cause of problems. Okay. That being said, you do need to do your homework in terms of finding a good functional practitioner, someone who knows what they're doing and someone who's qualified. So I will put that out there. But for something like restless leg syndrome, it's like, okay, what is causing it? That's what we got to really get and find the root problem there. Sean asked, can I use the moisturizer at night with my shrinker? Yes. Sean, that particular moisturizer from Vital Fit, it soaks in really nicely and really quickly. I would just recommend that you put the moisturizer on, give it a few minutes to really soak in, and then put your shrinker on. And that way it's not soaking into the shrinker instead. Bill says, I notice my limb fluctuates when I have more salt content. Yeah, it's ironic because if you hit the potato chips, right, the salt and vinegar potato chips, good stuff, right? You puff up. But if you hydrate properly with the balanced electrolytes that have sodium, you don't puff up. Isn't that interesting? Okay. Jill, good to see you. Marianne, girl, I haven't seen you in a long time. You must be freezing your tuchus off over in South Dakota. How cold is it over there right now, Marianne? All right, let's go to the next question while Marianne answers. Okay, 2 pages of questions, y'all. Y'all did not disappoint this week. And I love it when you send me a ton of questions. All right, Instagram is very, very quiet this evening. We got Dick Devers on board, though. I see you, Dick Devers. We got Joan, my girl Joan. I haven't seen her in a while. All right. Let's see. This individual sent me a text message, and it says, I am a left below knee amputee since June of 2019. The physio after surgery in 2019 did not really benefit me, and I found the physiotherapists were more focused on the older patients, and I was the youngest. How to recommend retraining your brain to walk better or improve muscle memory. I'm currently working with a personal trainer who is not familiar with working with amputees, and then later participating in an online fitness program, smaller town in Canada. So not a lot of options for specialists. So this is the part where I was just like, oh, I really wish I could bring people like this over to my clinic and just get a chance to work with them. But what I love is this particular individual talks about retraining the brain. And that's exactly what it is when it comes to using your prosthesis. Unfortunately, a lot of times folks, when they have an amputation, they go see their prosthetist and they just think, okay, I put my leg on and I just need to start walking again. I used to walk before, right? And it's a huge letdown when you realize that's just not how it works. Okay. And retraining the brain is exactly the mindset. It's not about strengthening the muscles. It's not about getting that range of motion and the balance. I mean, yeah, that's all a part of it, but it all starts with retraining that brain. Okay. And we've talked a lot about how to start retraining the sense of proprioception, your body's ability to know where it is in space, right? This is actually the first things I do with my patient when they put that leg on and they stand up in the parallel bars for the first time in my clinic. Okay. We start hammering into the brain that sense of proprioception. Okay. Now, again, I wish I could do more within the confines of this teeny tiny screen. But the best thing I can give you is the weight shifting exercises. Okay. So the way to retrain your brain. Okay. So we talked earlier in the show about retraining your muscles and retraining your brain to wake up those muscles with isometric exercises. Okay. Exercises that are very simplified and easy for your brain to activate. Okay. And that's how it all begins. When it comes to rehab, you got to give your brain a simple environment to start learning from again. Okay. So I'm going to put up this QR code again. There it is. Okay. Putting up the QR code again. For those of you who have my exercise book or who have access to the video exercise program. Okay. If you go into balance, I believe it's balance phase 1. That is where you're going to find the weight shifting exercises. And of course, I can't find it right here off the top of my head. Okay. So the weight shifting exercises in a side to side, it starts with the square up, weight shifting exercises side to side, weight shifting exercise forward, backward, and then diagonal. Okay. And you have to do them in that order. Okay. So for my folks, like my gentleman in a small town in Canada, for folks who are in the middle of nowhere, who have no access to physical therapy, or perhaps you don't have a physical therapist who is specialized in working with amputees, the weight shifting exercises are a good way to start learning how to do proprioception again. Okay. And again, this is another one of those exercises that when I have even my higher functioning folks who are already walking on their own and they just want to learn how to run, I will put them back to doing these foundational exercises so that their brain can really, really get a handle as to where it is in space. Okay, you need that for walking and you certainly need that for running. Okay, so again, I wish I could do more in that regard, but so far this is what I've got for you. And best of luck to folks like yourself. Hey, okay, somebody from Michigan, and it's a good thing because I got a lot of Michigan viewers on here tonight, asks, and I'd love to hear from you guys for this one. What are some of the safety things amputees can do walking on snow and ice? Yak tracks. I don't even know what yak tracks look like, but I know that it is a device that goes on the bottom of your shoe and it lets you walk through snow and ice. And this is a very common thing that many of my viewers over the years have said about how it helps them and prevents them from falling and slipping down in snow and in ice. So definitely yak tracks. Next thing would be improving your balance and proprioception. This is especially for those of you who are having to navigate snow and ice and things like that. Work on those balance exercises, man. That's something that never gets old, and you can always continue to improve there. So those of you who are my frozen popsicles right now, what do you guys do when it comes to navigating snow and ice with your prosthetics or without your prosthetics? Emily says she's got her Chinese food tonight. There's your salt content right there. I love it. I love it. Hey there, Beth. Yes, Beth. So my Vital Fit discount should still be working. They have been wonderful about continuing to honor it for my viewers, and it's Cosi 10. And if I'm not mistaken, it gets you $10 off your purchase of $20 or more. So like their travel pack, I think it's been a while since I've looked at their website. I think it's $20. So with my discount, it comes out to $10. And I think that's pretty fair price to be able to trial out. And it's a pretty nice size bottles. Let's see. Beth says track shoe crampons and use a walker. Marianne says, I just stay in the house when it's slick and snowy. I like your way of thinking. Let's see. What else you guys got? I know you guys got a lot more ideas than that. Come on. Let's see if anybody on Instagram is saying anything. Oh, Joan, there you are, darling. Miss you too, girl. We need to catch up and chat. We need to catch up. There's my other girl from Canada. Scott says, I'm going to stay inside. It sounds like that's a popular option. Just to stay inside. Okay, so this next question, Trisha asks, is there value in getting a second opinion, especially when the first answer is no? So it's interesting. I have had several discussions these past couple of weeks with folks who were either interested in getting osseointegration, targeted muscle reinnervation, a different prosthetic, and people who were saying to me, I went to so-and-so surgeon or so-and-so prosthetist, and they said I should not do this procedure or get this prosthesis or, whatever it was. What should I do? Should I get a second opinion? Okay. So my general answer is, yeah, go get a second opinion, but if you're getting a second opinion, okay, at the risk of sounding cliche, what do you want them to tell you? Is it because you feel like the first opinion did not come from a qualified practitioner? Okay. Is it because it wasn't the answer you wanted to hear? Okay. And guys, I've been guilty of this sometimes myself in my own personal health. Okay. For me, I think getting a second opinion can do good, and it can also do harm. In the good way, it can either confirm what the first person is telling you, and then you have peace knowing, okay, this is in fact not something that's for me, or something that is for me. Or that second opinion can perhaps provide a different perspective on how to look at the problem and perhaps a different solution. Okay. And again, getting that second opinion, it can make a difference for someone. It can also, I've seen some cases where people really, really wanted to have something done, and they had several people that said no, and they just kept looking around until they found someone who said yes. And you guys can probably imagine how that can get someone into trouble, right? So again, it's taking a step back, looking at your situation and saying, okay, what am I hoping to solve with getting this surgery or getting this prosthetic device or getting whatever it is that I want to get? And really taking a look at, why is the person telling me no? Is it because they don't have the experience? Is it because they are laying out some pretty good evidence that this is not the best choice for me? Okay. And then if I'm going to seek out a second opinion, making sure that the person you're getting that second opinion from is an expert at whatever it is, whether it's a particular kind of socket that's being made, whether it's a new procedure that's out there. Okay. So making sure you're getting qualified professional opinions. Okay. And then again, at some point you need to have a come to Jesus talk with yourself and saying, okay, am I pursuing this because this is what I really want, even though a lot of people are telling me no, it might not be a good idea for me? Or is it because there's something here that could really benefit me? And again, that's a question you have to answer for yourself. So usually when someone comes and asks me, should I have this done? Should I get that done? And my first question back to them is, what are you hoping to do with this procedure or with this new device that you are not able to do now? How is this going to improve how are you hoping that this will improve the quality of your life? And then start to assess the risks and the benefits. And guys, when it comes to being an amputee, I don't think there's ever an easy decision for you all to make. What foot do you choose? What knee do you choose? What prosthetist are you going to be spending, the rest of your life with? Should you have osseointegration done? Should you have targeted muscle reinnervation done? It's just like, for crying out loud, you guys really don't get a break sometimes with some of these decisions that you have to make. Some really tough decisions that have lasting consequences. I can tell you from my own healthcare journey, some of you may know that I'm a breast cancer survivor, and as you can imagine, I was diagnosed when I was very young, and I had 4 small children under the age of 9 when I was diagnosed. So every decision my husband and I had to make regarding my own care, we had to really be careful, weighing the pros and cons and the consequences. And there were some instances where the first opinion I got, I knew was the right decision, and we went through. And then in other decisions we had to make, I had to get a second opinion and sometimes even third opinion to make the right decision. So I hope this helps in some way. So yeah. Okay, Emily says, even when I had 2 full legs, if it was wet or snowy, I used my wheelchair instead of my crutches. Yeah, and all joking aside, when it comes to the snow, guys, and ice, safety is the number one thing. Snow and ice eventually goes away, even in, Canada and Michigan, eventually it will go away. So if you are somebody that is prone to falling down, best to play it safe than sorry. Let's see. Tom says, I'm in the snow all the time and I just wear a good pair of snow boots with good spreads and I watch where I'm walking. Yeah. All right. So here we've got. Okay. So this one. And this one came in from the text message, by the way, guys. You guys are using my texting service a lot more, and I love that. So for those of you who have not signed on, okay, and I have a little caveat. Those of you who have not signed on to my texting service, please consider doing so. It means that you can text me directly your questions. It also means that I will text you the links when I go live to the show, for those of you especially who are having trouble finding the show whenever I go live. When you text me, please tell me your name, because sometimes I'll get these text messages and I don't know who I'm talking to, and I would just love to know who I'm talking to. So speaking of which, I had a mystery text from somebody who did not include their name. And the question is, this person says, I have had 2 falls since the amputation in October, and I've had to have 3 surgeries since then. Does anybody else have to wear a shield? Does it help? Because it's very uncomfortable. So I was just like, well, what do you mean by shield? Is it a stump protector? And that's basically it. It's what we call just, slang term stump protector. And usually it almost looks like an old pea-light liner. It's like a little foam covering that goes around the end of the residual limb, and it's like Velcroed on. And there's several different models of stump protectors. And it's exactly that. It's meant to protect the end of the residual limb right after surgery, so that if a person has a fall, it theoretically will give it some protection and hopefully not open up and bust open that wound, right? Because unfortunately, that sometimes happens, as in the case of this particular individual. So, when it comes to these stump protectors, it's like, does it help? Yeah, in some cases it can help, and it can certainly help, especially if you have a fresh wound on there, a fresh surgical wound. And if you have a fall, that it may prevent it from opening up. But it's also like saying, well, if you wear a if you wear a helmet when you ride a motorcycle and you go 100 miles an hour on that motorcycle, is that helmet going to protect you? Yeah. Is it better than not wearing a helmet? Absolutely. But is it going to really protect you if you get into a car accident? Yeah. So again, when it comes to falls, for me, it's more about fall prevention. So if you are someone who has a history of falls, it's time to see that physical therapist. It's time to ask your doctor to please send you to the physical therapist for a fall prevention program. Even if you don't have your prosthesis yet, that's kind of part of what we do is, assessing your balance. So yeah, if I have somebody who's since October, so it's been what, October, November, December, January, less than 3 months, and you've already had 2 falls that have required surgery. For me, I want to know what's going on with your balance. Is it a matter of retraining your balance, or is there something else going on that we need to look at? Is there a medication, for example? And I find that a lot in my patients. Sometimes my patients are being overprescribed certain medications that knock their balance out, right? But basically, a stump protector or stump shield or whatever you want to call it, it's fine. It's fine. And if that's what your surgeon wants you to wear, then listen to your surgeon, right? But for me, it's more about how can we prevent you from falling, period. To me, that's more of the issue. And again, feel free as a patient to squeak that wheel. Okay. Tell your surgeon, I want a prescription to go see a physical therapist for a fall prevention program. Make it happen. Do the things, as my friend would say. Do the things. Make it happen. All right, guys. So we are... Right. So Beth said, found gait training helpful for balance issues as well. And it actually goes the opposite way. Balance training improves the gait, right? Yeah. And guys, at some point in your life as an amputee, you probably will experience a fall. Okay. And again, that's one of those things that as a PT, I try to teach my patients how to do fall prevention, but also what happens if you do fall. How do you get up? How do you protect yourself as best as you can? Tuck and roll. There's what Charlie says. I like that. Right. But again, if you're somebody who has a history of falls, to me, that's a red flag. You need to get that looked into and get thee to a physical therapist. All right, guys, we have had a really good time this evening. So let's see, Martin says, stump protector can make a huge difference. I fell 3 times and it's horribly painful to recover. Yeah. But again, guys, stump protectors, awesome. Not falling in the first place, more awesome. I'm like, I know I sound like master of the obvious right now. But again, for me, I'm just like, go see your physical therapist so we can teach you how not to fall. And that would be the best right there. Yes. And learning how to fall if it comes to that, Carrie. Yes. All right, guys, on that interesting note, I am going to bid you adieu for the evening. So as always, guys, thank you for letting me be a part of your lives this evening. Ooh, College Park in the house tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. Oh my gosh, what am I saying? Next week, College Park is coming in and we are going to have a lovely special guest, one of my favorite special guests, back in the Cosi Talk studio. So next week, so those of you who are on my e-blast, okay, look out for the e-blast. And then guys, those of you who are on my e-blast, I just released my what should have been my 2024 survey, end of year 2024 survey. Before you guys go on me, please go and fill out this survey. It will literally take you less than 3 minutes. 3 minutes. And that's if your Wi-Fi is going slow. Okay. It's 10 questions. You just have to click your answers, put your email in and get an entry into the $50 gift card giveaway. And I'm actually going to sweeten the pot for those of you who are watching my show live right now. The first 20 people to complete the survey, I'm going to give you 2 raffle entries. Okay. So go check your emails because I sent that email today. Check the email for me and go fill out that survey now. It really gives me a lot of information on what you want to see on the show. It gives my sponsors information that they want to know about you so they can serve you better. And believe me, guys, I use this survey year after year to improve the show. And you can really make your voice heard. And guys, those of you who have seen who I have as sponsors on my show, they want to hear from you. They want to hear from you. So please go fill out this survey. It should be in your emails if you are signed up for my email subscription. Okay, now I'm really going to leave. Now I'm going to let you guys go and get your rest and get your hot cocoa. All right, guys, as always, thank you so much for letting me be a part of your lives this evening. I will see you same bat time, same bat